9 and 13. The General Assembly will resume its consideration of Agenda Item 15, Culture of Peace, to take action on the draft resolution issued as document A/65/L5. Members will recall that at its 32nd and 33rd plenary meetings on the 18th of October 2010, the Assembly considered in a joint debate Agenda Item 14, Global Agenda for Dialogue and Civilizations, and Agenda Item 15. I will now give the floor to His Royal Highness Prince Ghazi bin Muhammad, personal envoy and special advisor to His Majesty the King of Jordan, to introduce draft resolution A/65/L5. I have the honor to introduce, on behalf of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan and the 27 other co-sponsors, Albania, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Bangladesh, Costa Rica, the Dominican Republic, Egypt, El Salvador, Georgia, Guatemala, Guyana, Honduras, Kazakhstan, Kuwait, Liberia, Mauritius, Morocco, Oman, Paraguay, Qatar, the Russian Federation, Saudi Arabia, Tanzania, Turkey, the United Arab Emirates, Uruguay, and Yemen. The draft resolution A/65/L5 entitled The World Interfaith Harmony Week. Allow me to explain in brief the reasoning behind this resolution, which was lodged by His Majesty King Abdullah II bin al-Hussein before the United Nations General Assembly on September 23rd, 2010. As this august assembly is well aware, our world is rife with religious tension and, sadly, mistrust, dislike, and hatred. These religious tensions can easily erupt into communal violence. They also facilitate the demonizing of the other, which in turn predisposes public opinion to support war against peoples of other religions. Thus, for example, according to the results of the 2008 Gallup poll, one of the largest international religious surveys in history, 53% of Westerners have unfavorable or very unfavorable opinions of Muslims, and 30% of Muslims polled worldwide hold negative views of Christians. The misuse or abuse of religions can thus be a cause of world strife, whereas religions should be a great foundation for facilitating world peace. The remedy for this problem can only come from the world's religions themselves. Religions must be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Much good work has already been done towards this, starting really with the Second Vatican Council from 1962 to 1965, by hundreds of interfaith and interfaith groups all over the world and of all religions. Yet the forces inciting interreligious tensions, notable among them being religious fundamentalisms of various kinds, are better organized, more experienced, better coordinated, more motivated, and more ruthless. They have more stratagems, more institutes, more money, more power, and garner more publicity, such that they by far outweigh all the positive work done by the various religious interfaith initiatives. The sad proof of this is that religious tensions are on the rise, not on the decline. Mr. President, the present draft resolution seeks to turn tide against this negative movement by, one, coordinating and uniting the efforts of all the interfaith groups doing positive work with one focused theme at one specific time annually, thereby increasing their collective momentum and eliminating redundancy. Two, harnessing and utilizing the collective might of the world's second largest infrastructure, that of places of worship, the largest being that of education, specifically for peace and harmony in the world, inserting, as it were, the right software into the world's religious hardware. Three, permanently and regularly encouraging the silent majority of preachers to declare themselves for peace and harmony and providing a ready-made vehicle for them to do so. Moreover, if preachers and teachers commit themselves on the record once a year to peace and harmony, this means that when the next interreligious crisis or provocation occurs, they cannot then relapse into parochial fear and mistrust and will be more likely to resist the winds of popular demagoguery. Mr. President, turning to the text itself, allow me to explain some of its most essential terminology and concepts. One, in the very title of the resolution and in the second operative paragraph and elsewhere, the word harmony is used in the Chinese sense of the term. We added to the term tolerance, which we have also used, because tolerance can suggest that the other is so negative that they have to be tolerated. We cannot use acceptance because it implies that religions accept each other's doctrines rather than their right to those doctrines, and this is not the case. We cannot use the term peace alone because it suggests merely the absence of war and not necessarily the absence of hatred. Only the Confucian concept of harmony can rescue us here because it suggests not merely peace but also beautiful and dynamic interaction between different elements within a whole. Two, in the third operative paragraph, there is mention of love of God and love of the neighbor, or love of the good and love of the neighbor. Why is this religious reference necessary in the UN resolution? In answer to this question, it will be noticed first that this draft resolution is unique because it is specifically about peace between religions and not about anything else. Therefore, some religious references in this particular case is only natural. To rigidly maintain the contrary would be to disregard the feelings of 85% of the world's population which belongs to one or another faith. Second, and more importantly perhaps, we include these references because whilst we all agree that it is clearly not the business of the UN to engage in theology, it is nevertheless the primary goal of the UN to make and safeguard peace. And without the specific mention of God and of the two commandments of love, many, if not most devout Muslims, Christians, and Jews will consider a secular call for interfaith harmony a mere feckless platitude that they cannot fully or sincerely support. For in the Holy Bible, Jesus Christ, said, "Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word of God," and also that, "Hallowed be thy name." And similar meanings are to be found in the Holy Quran, wherein it is stated that no act is rewarded save for seeking the countenance of the Lord the Most High, and that verily the remembrance of God is of all things the greatest. In other words, for many Muslims, Christians, and Jews, who together make up past 55% of the world's population, and I regret to say are involved in most of the world's conflicts, it is necessary to mention the substance of their faiths. Otherwise, hoping to foster peace between religions by foisting upon them an external and purely secular and bureaucratic language is simply a house divided against itself, which shall not stand. Third, it will be noted that this language excludes no one of any religion or of no faith at all. Every person of goodwill and love of God, or love of the neighbor and love of the good. Loving the neighbor and the good is, after all, the essence of goodwill. And referring to the good obviously does not necessarily imply belief in God or in a particular religion, even though for many believers, the good is God precisely. Jesus Christ and Islam said, "No one is good but God alone." And the good, al-Fard, is one of God's names in the Holy Quran. Thus, speaking of the good is a theologically correct but inclusive formula insofar as it goes, that unites all humanity and leaves out no one. Fourth, there is another reason why it is specifically necessary to mention love of the neighbor. It sets an invaluable practical standard based upon which people can ask themselves and each other if their actions stem from caritas, love towards the neighbor or not. Indeed, as the Prophet Muhammad said, "None of you has faith until you love for your neighbor what you love for yourself." 3. Also in the third operative paragraph, the phrase "on a voluntary basis" is used because the entire proposal must be purely voluntary. No place of worship should be forced to observe the world interfaith harmony. For whilst we hope to encourage interfaith harmony, the last thing we want is for anyone at all to feel that anything is being imposed upon his or her faith, beliefs, or convictions. Nevertheless, one can conceive of positive incentives to encourage and help support and monitor the implementation of this resolution. 4. Finally, also the third operative paragraph, the phrase "each according to their own religious traditions or convictions" is vital because the different religions do not necessarily interpret love of God and the neighbor in exactly the same way and do not want it said that they do. This phrase thus avoids the dangers of syncretism or reductionism and allows for religious differences within the same goal of working towards interreligious peace and harmony. In summary then, I very humbly ask the member states of the United Nations General Assembly to adopt the proposed draft resolution for the World Interfaith Harmony Week, noting that it excludes no individual, compromises no one, commits no one, forces no one, harms no one, costs nothing, and on the contrary, includes everyone, celebrates everyone, benefits everyone, unites everyone, and has the potential to bring much needed peace and harmony to the entire world, inshallah. I thank the Principal Envoy and Special Advisor to His Majesty, the King of Jordan. Before moving on with the adoption of this resolution, I would like to announce that Suriname, my country, would like to be inscribed as one of the co-sponsors of this resolution as well. The Assembly will now take a decision on draft resolution
تبني لمشروع القرار ونتقدم بالشكر الجزيل لوفد الأردن لما بذله من مجهود to thank the delegation of Jordan for every time we'd like to support this draft resolution. We would like to join that delegation which have supported this draft resolution.
Thank you very much.